Ahí está. ¿Qué hay? ¿Cómo están todos hoy? How's everybody doing? Yeah. Jerry, what's up?
Finally.
Since we're gonna use the instruments and so they can be a little bit like better in frame for my setup here.
Yeah,
If you can turn, would you be able to turn your camera sideways and just
sure.
have people hopefully be cool with turning their phone sideways too? Dale.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's see if from here it works. This is poquito ahí. All right, I think we got it now, sort of. Yeah, it's a little crooked, but it
Yeah,
works.
it's good. It's just one of them days, man.
Yeah, man. We finally made it.
Finally, yeah. Zoom crash, Insta crash. Now we're here.
Yeah, awesome. There we go. Okay, what up?
What up?
All
So,
right, so guys, we've been trying to. We were gonna do something else. We were gonna be on Zoom. We were gonna record it. It was gonna be a podcast. It was gonna go up later, and technology and life gave us the opportunity to flow here this way. So we're just flowing with it, guys. So bienvenidos, welcome, Jerry. You actually initially invited us to do this, so I'd love for you to just step in, introduce yourself, and take it from here. I'm all
yeah.
yours.
Well, my name is Jerry Phoenix. I'm a life coach, therapist, practitioner based here in Stockholm. So I've been following Adrian for a long time and wanted to reach out and do a podcast for a long time. And I was very honored that he would take up the call. So we're just adapting as best we can with the technology
Yeah.
this evening, because I wanted to expand on sound therapy, which is a thing I don't really do. It's been a long time since I've done it. I do more talk therapy, acupuncture, stuff like that. So I just found that Adrian was doing fascinated by the sound therapy, and I just wanted to dive into that topic and a
Yep.
few other topics as well. So where people can get something of value out of today's conversation,
Totally.
unpredictable conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so you know, I I would love to just share a little bit of sound for a few minutes.
Yeah,
And if you like, I invite you to close your eyes and receive as well. Everybody who's on, and to just let yourselves be swept away by the waves of sound.
cool.
David. And from the space of peace, the centered state of awareness, allowing our deepest and truest intention to make its way through the portal of our hearts as a light that expands as waves of light with every beat, imprinting every cell of your body, magnetizing it to receive this intention, this experience, this feeling, vision, made manifest right here and now. And breathing in the earth's vibration, purest love and abundance, feeling it vibrate and resonate throughout our entire bodies and beyond into our field. Shaking away all that no longer serves, all that's already served its purpose, allowing it to flow and integrate in harmony with our beingness. And as we exhale, we feel the whitest, brightest light pour over our entire bodies and field, shining through every atom in every direction, the purest love. And letting it all go. Open to receive. Here now. So it is, and so it be. and witnessing our breath, feeling our hearts beat. Breathing in the deepest gratitude for the gift, the blessing, these sacred temples that we inhabit throughout this life. Allow us to feel and create. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Namaste, hermano.
Wow, that was some trip.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah,
awesome. Good.
yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed
You know,
it.
I really do. Yeah. It reminded me of the time I lived in Thailand and hanging out at the temples there and the meditations we used to do with the singing bowls.
Yeah,
Yeah, quite profound. A few flashbacks there.
that's awesome. Good, good,
Yeah,
good.
so I really appreciate it, Adrian. Thank
Yeah,
you.
my pleasure.
Really
Thank you so
appreciate
much
it.
for the invitation.
Yeah. So tell me now, how did you get into sound therapy?
Um, so the first time I went to this really awesome place in the Joshua Tree Desert in California. They have this place called the Integratron, and so it's this structure that this man years ago received a download, and he received some coordinates and some specific guidelines about how to build this structure in which the acoustics are like they're perfect,
Yeah.
and it's a dome, and um, the pieces of wood are held together by this massive concrete ring in the center at the top, which is actually a skylight as well. It's so cool, so pretty,
Right.
and that holds all the wood down in place because it doesn't really use metal. And this is it has a bar, a rod that goes from the center of the structure down into the earth. And when this man received these downloads, they were very specific coordinates about where the center or where the structure needed to be. And it turns out that it's like, I believe it's like 3 underground currents crossing there, which has like energy comparable to like the pyramids in Egypt. That kind of
Right.
vibration there in the earth at that specific point where he was guided to build it. And so they have the whole second level. It's like you can whisper on one side of the structure, and another person can hear you as if you were like whispering in their ear on the other side.
Wow.
And so they have the massive crystal bowls there. And that was my first time going there. I didn't even know what I was going to. My friends were the ones that were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to a sound bath." And I was like, "All right, I'm in." And
Yeah.
and so that was really cool. It was a really beautiful experience. But it wasn't until a few months later that I went through, while meditating, I went through some really transformative experiences. You know, one of these that you sit down and then you get up and everything's changed.
Yeah, of course.
And so that was a lot. That was a lot to integrate and to process. And I had been meditating for a while then, but it wasn't enough. That and my art and whatnot was just not enough at the time. And I saw an ad come up on Instagram for a sound bath in LA. And it was immediate. It was like, "Oh, you got to be there." And I was like, "I'm there."
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to that session, I just experienced such. They were really profound shifts. It was I was so present in it and so relaxed, where things would come up and I would be able to observe them in such a way where I was able to, get to the root of it and feel it, and in doing so have a different perspective of whatever was coming up and arising for me. And upon doing that, I was able to sort of shift it and let it go, integrate it in a different way. And so I had a lot of just really profound experiences throughout months, and it was so beneficial, so helpful for me that I was always like bringing people with me to experience sound baths, and I was going weekly. I was helping them set up, and it never occurred to me to do it myself until one of the sessions at the end, months down the line. It was like a voice at the end of the session. It was, you got to learn to do this. And I went up and I asked, and there was a course, a two-day intro intensive, and from there I just took it, man. And I've been traveling with them. Yeah, they've been really, really, really special in my life. Just so much change, and have allowed me to connect with so many beautiful people and so many diverse people in different places around the world. I mean, look where you are in Sweden, and we haven't had a chance to meet in person yet. And
True.
yeah, so I'm really grateful for the work. It's really beautiful to be able to share it with people and see what they experience as well, and how it transforms them. I feel really, really fortunate. Yeah, very grateful.
So what kind of crystal is it made of? Because I have very little knowledge of these
Yeah, so they're
instruments,
99.9% crystal quartz.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, and that they're at the scale of A, note A at 432 hertz. And there's been some research as to the healing properties and the effects of that frequency in particular, as well as many other frequencies. I feel like a lot of it is the frequency. I also really believe in the power of intention, and on both ends, right? How open and trusting the person receiving can be, and then the intention that the person facilitating has as well. There's a lot that goes into it. It's frequency, and then it's the frequency that one brings to it and how one amplifies that. I feel like they have a harmonizing effect on the body and on the mind, just the energy body as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, music does that, I mean, nobody can argue the effects music has. It's a universal language. Even sound, even if there used to be a guy when we used to live in Dublin. I think he was from Mongolia, and he used to sing on the street. And he had this. When I heard it first, it was like, where's that coming from? What instrument is that? And he was just a little small man guy.
Oh wow, yeah, like tuning all the deep notes. Yeah,
I can't do it correctly, but it was phenomenal singing. So there's a certain name for it, but I think it was kind of Mongolian singing he was doing. But he had 4 different octaves in his voice, Wow. So it was amazing. So I used to pass him quite regular, but just the effect of him, every people be like, "Wow, okay, that's pretty amazing."
It made you pause. It made it,
really,
it captured
caught
you.
me like that. Big time.
It's magical.
That's why I'm always interested in different sounds, because I come from a very musical family and grew up with music as well, and playing music and professionally as well. So it's always good to hear different sounds. Really I enjoy it, but regarding sound therapy, I think there needs to be something a bit more light put on it, because it has a fascinating effect for people. We have art therapy. That's just like being recently accepted as mainstream therapy. But I think sound therapy is the next stage for the healing art, the healing world,
And I mean, it's ancient healing. It's ancient technology. I mean, we were singing in caves way before we had agriculture.
Big time. Yeah.
So it's definitely always been something through which people can come together and just become really present and experience themselves in other ways. And it's really beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I love it.
Yeah. And would you find like at times when you're doing a session for a group that you lose all track of time and space? You're just
Oh,
like
yeah.
totally tranced out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, by this time, I have a feel for how it's flowing and like the amount of time that more or less, the amount of time that I've been playing. I get a sense of when it's like, it's time to wrap it up. But sometimes it's just, I let flow whatever's coming through, and sometimes it becomes, you know, a lot longer, and it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it until the very end, when people are like, what time is it? How long were we in? And for
Yeah.
them, it felt very short too, but we were actually in there for a while. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It,
The singing you done, it reminded me of a shaman I met before. He was doing ayahuasca chanting.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you were kind of hitting borderline ayahuasca chanting there for a moment. So wherever that comes from. So
That's cool.
that's
That's cool.
another
I'll take it.
amazing chanting. That
Yeah, no, it's really beautiful how in those ceremonies, music is such a powerful part of the medicine of what we do in those settings, right?
hmm
Is the music is
profound.
and it's very much inspired, and I feel like it's very much inspired and guided by the medicine itself, by, you know, we're little extensions, like little nerve endings of Mother Earth, of Gaia. And, you know, when we move out of the way and we allow ourselves to listen to our hearts, follow our passion, and
hmm
put our gifts into service, it's basically like we're finally getting in line with what Mother Earth wants us or needs us to do in order for things to continue to evolve, and
Yeah.
lives here to improve. So yeah, I think music. I think music is a really beautiful way, and one of those very like instant ways in which we just like surrender to her and just become a vessel for the medicine we want
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
And do you find when you're working with people that observing them, the transformation actually doesn't take that long?
It's a shift. It's a
Yeah.
shift. It's like in here the transformation happens, and in here it's just
hmm
sometimes how that comes about in day-to-day life over time, how that's sort of integrated, the changes that occur in one's life, so that one can put into practice whatever it is that you've just like received or experienced or learned. Um, and that's sometimes where people can use a little bit of assistance in the part of applying it, of integrating it, right? Just a support, because
hmm
otherwise sometimes the shift happens, but we don't really know what to do with it, or you know, we have other behaviors that perhaps get in the way a little bit of that shift being able to really flourish. Um,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that's where a lot of the work comes in too, right? And just the shifts that happen to accommodate that new expansion of that new awareness.
So for people who are tuned in there, like what would be the
Yeah.
best advice from a sound therapy point of view, the best way to integrate on a daily basis? How would you advise people to integrate?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of ways. Ultimately, I feel it's just the practice of becoming more and more present,
hmm
cultivating more present awareness, finding ways in which we can support ourselves in the process of becoming more present. Because sometimes what happens is we're excited about something we've just experienced, right? And the excitement of it sometimes takes our mind's attention, and we start like creating stories around it, or just getting lost in going back to how that felt, or going back to what one experienced. What I find is that the more present we become, the more we support ourselves with practices and the awareness of just our breath and being fully engaged in whatever it is we're doing. That's when, by simply being present, something that we're doing or somebody that we're speaking to, or a song that we're just listening to, or our own intuition, it those moments and those interactions, right, in the present moment, are really sometimes what open way for us to receive, more. It's about being more. It's about being here and now, right? And so if we get lost in trying to understand it and go looking for it, what we may do is confuse ourselves a little bit more, or just we're getting in our own way. We're interfering with the natural process that is going to happen. So the more we trust it and we're patient with ourselves and the process,
Yeah.
and the more engaged we are with whatever we're doing in the present moment, then at that point we allow the shift and the integration to occur organically. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
really good advice, Adrian, because I would concur a lot with that, because I find, working in my own field, a lot of people, they get an insight, but then
Yeah.
it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They go back to the old pattern, and try to navigate it. Navigate them to keep them as present as you can and more focused on the future, because the brain is so used to being so analytic,
Yeah.
and being analytic, that serves a purpose, but no amount of analysis can bring you acceptance. That's the problem there, because you could analyze day and day and day and night, and you might say that's it, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then the ego says, are you sure? But why was that? Why was that why for the why of that? And go into that vicious circle.
We convince her. Sometimes we have a shift, we have a new awareness, and then if we go looking into it too much, it's almost as if we open room to create stories that convince us otherwise, because
Yeah.
because our natural tendency is to remain the same, right? Because it's safe. But what these new insights are doing is that they're opening way for us to change, to evolve, to create something new. So if we allow ourselves to trust that more, right, and
Big
continue to
time.
cultivate that present awareness, make the changes in our lives and our daily routines that we want to do to be able to sustain that, to support
Yeah.
ourselves in the process, then it all unfolds naturally, and we're not letting the mind interfere as much and convince us otherwise to remain in the same state and in the same loops.
Yeah. That's a fact. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
I remember working with a few people, and to bring them to a point of truth, to try and engage them with their shadow,
yeah,
and facing that fear. But then once they face it, they're completely free. But then they try to put words to it. I said, don't do that, because that you'll jinx it, because there's no words for this, because
yeah,
it can only be experienced. And if you put words to it, it will destroy its beauty. It's like grabbing a flower
yeah,
and you crush
exactly.
it loses all its beauty. All you need to
Yeah,
do is just nourish it.
yeah,
So like a lot of people have different experiences, but each down to his own individual experience of it
yeah.
you know
I mean, as an artist, I mean, I don't know if you perhaps do something like this, but I learned this from an ayahuasquero in that I did a ceremony with, and he's also a therapist and an artist, musician, and part of what he did the morning after ceremony was to help us integrate without putting too many words onto it. It was, you know, like giving us time to draw something, to express something
Uh,
There we go. We're back.
yeah. Sorry, buddy. Lost you there for a minute.
Yeah.
So you were saying you
Um,
met this shaman. He was telling you to
yeah.
paint and
So,
draw.
the exercise to integrate was all about drawing it by using a free creative expression
Hmm.
that's not limited by words, and that sort of I found it so helpful and so beautiful. Um, and so I started, in acting, we're always taught to steal from the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What we're
yeah, yeah,
sharing
yeah.
how what we learn that resonates with us to perhaps see how we may be able to share that as well. And so kudos to you, gracias Manuel. But yeah, I started doing that at depending on the session, the kind of work that we're doing, the context, I use that as an exercise at the end before people sometimes are really excited to share and have questions. So I allow them to have a moment to like pick some colors and before, trying to verbalize it, to just kind of put it down on paper. And it becomes
Hmm.
very much more a self-reflective kind of thing as opposed to looking for the answer, the stimulus of looking for the answer outside of ourselves.
Hmm.
That tendency that we have. So, so that's proved really to be really helpful. And he did some really wonderful research with that over time with people that he's, was in ceremony with. And it showed over years how the drawings demonstrated their development and their own evolution, their own transformation. How
Yeah.
people that at the beginning you would have thought they're like, oh, these people are not like artists or not creative, and that's perhaps how they saw themselves and experienced themselves at that time. And then years down the line, they're making super like just very unique, beautiful, flowy art, and it was really fascinating to be able to see that. So it's been a really helpful tool that I've allowed myself to share with some clients as well.
Absolutely. I agree on the art side of things because I've relatively only got into it in the last 2 years. And the reason stopped doing it because of a kid, because of a belief system I created because of the point system, you know?
Yeah.
So I was in Malaga 2 years ago and I said, fuck it, I'm going to do something creative, not just music, but express myself. So I got a canvas, I painted something, and it looked like a scary movie. And I was very happy because it was a lot more done within that hour than the last 30 odd years. So I started playing with, then I started trying Cubanism, and then I
Mm.
kind of fell into abstract without even knowing it. I said, oh, abstract, yeah. Or I'm actually a bit of an abstract thinker.
Mm.
So then I, I started looking at Picasso stuff. I said, oh my God, I love this guy's stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I would stand on his shoulders for inspiration and Dali
Yeah.
as well. So what I'm trying to do at the moment now is trying marriage the two, the abstract and surrealism.
Yeah.
And there's another style I'm kind of playing with at the moment. So like I might go in with the intention, okay, I'll start with A, but it always ends up in bloody Z, you know. So
Yeah.
and I love that,
That's
I love
great.
that. So
Yeah. The
yeah,
freedom, man.
the freedom of it. But I find from my own personal development that it's helping me evolve
Yeah.
personally and professionally. So the more I do, the more insight I get to what's going on in my little monkey brain, you know?
Yeah. Totally. So
So,
you've shared with me some of your work, and a few other people have told me like, oh, you should go get some paint and start painting or drawing. I'm like, I've literally been told by a few people, and you were also inspiring me already. So I went the other day and I just bought a couple canvas and some paint. I haven't done it since I was
cool.
a little kid, but I know that when I was a little kid, I would just get lost in there for hours, and it was so fun.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel like getting older, I was more interested in doing the things that made me feel really alive and intense in other ways because I have that part of me too. It's very
Yeah,
energetic. It's like I'm
yeah.
passionate, so I want to feel everything on a, like you know. Um, but yeah, you inspired me, and a few people told me, and so I'm gonna be painting a little bit today.
Cool.
You know, coming back to those
Could,
things that
could,
that
could,
made me light up before too.
is it possible to see a little bit?
Oh no, I haven't started, but I made somebody a
Aha.
thank you card that I hand painted
All right.
last week. Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, last week. And then I bought the canvas, and so today I'm gonna, after we're done and I get some work done, I'm gonna paint for a little bit.
Great. Great.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Looking
yeah, yeah,
forward to
yeah.
it.
I'll share with you.
Yeah. Now, now, there was another thing I wanted to ask you about,
Yeah.
just to join the dots. Uh, You've always been creative.
So when I was very little, I was always very creative. I liked doing, you know, I liked drawing, I liked painting, dancing, singing. I'd always be in front of the camera and stuff like that, and performing. But as I got older, I actually really turned away from that side of myself for the most part. I was very creative in other ways. I would find ways to perform and be creative with school things,
Hmm.
and you know, presentations and whatnot. But I was mostly focused on sports, academia, and then working with my parents at their business and all that. So I didn't really nurture my artistry and my creativity
Hmm.
at all. And
So,
then, yeah, it was later in life at
sorry,
21 where I decided to go act, and it was kind of out of nowhere because I hadn't studied it before.
yeah. So that was leading up to my question. Like, when did you catch the acting bug, as they say?
Well, the acting bug bit me since I was a little kid when I was the gingerbread man in the first grade Christmas recital at school. And yeah, I mean, I really loved it since I was a little kid. I was always dancing for my parents' guests
Hmm.
and singing and all doing all that stuff. But I never actually studied it. I never nurtured it. I always wanted to take singing lessons when I was a little kid, but I never got them. I was mostly in sports and, you know, other kinds of things, water sports and whatnot in school. Um, and so every time we had like a group presentation, oral presentation, I can be very persuasive. I would always find
Yeah.
ways of convincing my group to either put on a scene and write a scene, or do a sketch, or do something, make it the presentation into a song. I'd always find a way to like make it different and a little more fun than just standing there and like saying the words and giving out the information.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so and I would like record little movies and stuff like that with my friends, but it wasn't until as I got older, the older I got, I wanted to just excel and be, you know, I was very much an overachiever, kind of just like really focused on wanting to be the best, trying to prove a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I got really good at doing all that. But at a certain point, you know, and I remember being in college, I took on this project for my parents' company. I produced this event. I was 20 years old, and it was like 500 people. We got sponsors. We threw like a fashion show. Made a magazine out of it. All the while I'm in school, like college with 18 credits. And the event comes along. It was a great success. It was really beautiful, really fun. I finished the semester. I had the best semester I had in college. It was like straight A's, and I
Hmm.
was happy up here. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I still not feeling like, you know, fulfilled? What's going on? You know, I was in a
Hmm.
relationship. I was happy in my relationship at that point, and just life was really asking me for change. And I realized that it was that I wasn't doing what I always, deep down, I never shared it with anybody, but deep down I really wanted to go off and act. And
Yeah.
I just didn't really know if I was ever going to have the guts to actually make the move and go to LA from Puerto Rico.
Uh-huh.
And
So,
then I did, because I had no
so
choice. Otherwise, I would have just been miserable. I realized that.
yeah. So what to put in an Irish term, who gave you the kick in the arse to do it?
My stubbornness,
Yeah.
because I remember being after that semester. I remember being with my grandfather in Miami. The family, we went on a trip, and we went to visit my grandpa, and he's having a conversation of like, oh, you know, I was about to go to Miami. I was gonna go to I had just gotten in for transfer to the University of Miami Business School. And he's like, oh, you're coming next semester? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, you know, you're not excited? I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to be doing something else. And it's my grandpa, but I hadn't really talked about this with anybody. And my mom was like, oh, he's going to come here and he's going to do the business school. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think I really want to go act. And she's like, oh, you're not going to do that. And the moment she said that, I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I hadn't decided, but now I've decided. I'm really gonna go do this. And she's like, no, I'm like, no, I'm really serious about this. I'm not coming here to school next semester. I'm gonna go to LA. And so that wasn't taken very well, but that was the journey in and of itself. But yeah, it was like when basically I was tapping into what my heart was really telling me, and I was starting to really accept that. The moment she said, no, you're not going to go do that, the feeling was like, oh, picturing myself like not going, like keeping that what if inside. I was like, it was instant. It was like, oh no, now that she said I can't do it, now I really know I gotta go do it. This is the feeling that brought up in me was like, I can't deny this, you know, I gotta go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and that's when I started to find ways to nurture my creativity more and get more into that side of myself. So which has been super therapeutic. I mean, that art form taught me so much about what I do today as well, you know, diving into human experience, the human consciousness, psyche, feelings, emotion, behaviors, relationships. And it's really, it really, along my path, I later on, I realized just how much it served me in my process of transformation and becoming more aware of myself. And then finding other things along the way that had really supported that. So it's been interesting. It's been really beautiful.
It's a beautiful journey, man. You have to listen to your gut.
I see.
With everything. And I think I remember the first time we made contact, you know, you were liking my stuff, I was liking your stuff.
Yeah.
And then I checked out the two brothers, and I'm trying to find the full film, but I can't find it. But I mean, the standard of acting, I was like, that's fucking real, man. That's a quality of acting I haven't seen in a long time. And I remember the two of us were talking about that. Like there's a lot, to be honest, there's some great movies in Hollywood, but I just found the passion is gone. You know, it isn't really there. There's top quality actors, but there's just something missing. And I have to say, the Spanish acting, South American acting is flying it. There's some amazing actors and actresses. Like myself and my wife, we watching Netflix, like Money Heist. The quality of acting in that is amazing. You know, because it's passionate, it's real. There's not like you could feel these guys are living this. You know, so compared to some like English movie or American movie, it's just not resonating. Maybe it's the Latino spirit. Maybe,
you know, I feel like that. There's a lot of, you know, there's so many different styles, and I appreciate all the different tones, right? But you think about it as a culture, there is also a lot more fire and vibrancy in the culture of like Latinos and the Caribbean. So I feel like when we tell a story, it's going to be, you know, if it's in Spanish especially, it's going to be something that really tells, it's characteristic of who we are. It's a mirror to that sector of the community, of the greater community. And in the States, you know, I guess like there are certain parts of like European culture that the culture itself and the cadence with which people speak and all that, it's just, it has different tones to it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's all really beautiful nuance.
You know, I mean, my favorite actor of all time, without doubt, is Peter O'Toole. I think
Mm.
he was just fantastic in everything he did, like theater and in life in general. He was never off the stage, but he lived so authentically. You
Yeah.
know, he was a wild man, you know, but fascinating. I love watching old interviews of him, but he was an inspiration, you know. And these guys were, that's it. These guys were hungry to act. There's a hunger there. And
You
when you,
know, yeah, I feel like there's something to the work that actors do, depending on, you know, your approach to it. Ultimately, if you
Mhm,
feel really called to the work, it's part of our spiritual practice, right?
mhm,
Talk about transmuting energy, right? The density that we may carry inside of ourselves or that we absorb from our environment, to be able to express it in a different way that tells a story that may be of value to somebody else. It may be, you know, bring somebody to question something, or to feel empathy. And so it's in a sense, it's medicine, right? As all art.
mhm.
But for us, it's very much it's like a spiritual practice too. You know, it's that process of us just kind of really being able to express things that hopefully we're not expressing in our personal lives, right? Because some settings and some stories that we tell can be quite dark as well,
Yeah,
reflective of a lot of the things in our planet that are in the process of receiving healing.
for
Yeah, let's
sure.
say. Yeah.
And what kind of character is your favorite to play out? Is it like actors always get act out, but like, is it the bad guy, the good guy, the quirky guy, the eccentric guy?
So interesting because I like the freedom of being an actor, so I like to be able to explore a wide variety. I to feel limited by just saying like, oh, I only want to do this and explore this kind of thing. No, this is exactly what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, this is not what brought me to this.
Mhm.
Um, you said you know Peter O'Toole was like your favorite actor, and for me, I always really admired Robin Williams a lot. I just his capacity to be so brilliantly hilarious
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
so truthful and just you know gut wrenching at some points in such subtle, beautiful ways. And I always
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
admired, and I admired. I always felt like, you know, how fun must it be to be able to like jump back and forth and do like such a variety of characters. And so
Mhm.
um, I've done the troubled, you know, like 30 Days with My Brother that you were saying, like the troubled, like kind of brooding, but also, you know, has its light side. I've done the like funny, spastic,
Mhm.
and I lately I've been feeling like I really would love to explore a darker character,
Uh-huh.
to explore I don't know, like say an antagonist role, or you know, or perhaps it's not an antagonist, but it's just you know, a character going through some really dense experiences and situations.
Mhm.
And explore that part of myself, explore that part of life, and see what I learned from it. I feel like I always learn from characters and from stories, which is really it's it's a nice cherry on top for sure, right?
For sure. Now, is there much acting schools where you're living?
No, and actually
Now,
that's one of
now I had a question here.
okay, please.
Right. Did you ever think of teaching it?
Yes. Yeah, so okay, so there are acting schools here and there are acting teachers, and you know, in the University of Puerto Rico has its theater program. There are very good teachers here. There isn't, I feel, or at least that I've come to know, a wide variety of options that trains in different areas and in different ways. For me, what really
Hmm.
worked in LA was learning a lot of different things, learning a lot of different techniques and stepping away from them and seeing what sticks from each one. And then
Uh-huh.
going to the other one, exploring something new. And then I always would find that when I would step away was when my work would start to really show up because I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to apply everything. It was just organically what resonated with me. You know, it opened
Hmm.
up, it activated something within me, and like different things that I did. So when I was here, when I was younger, before going to LA, there really weren't many options at all. And so I just waited until I went to Los Angeles. I took a 1-day workshop for commercials here once. And then when I was like 16, 17, and then when I actually went off to act, I was like, I'm just going to wait and train when I go over there. Because
Yeah.
I was clear that at that moment, what I wanted was to be working in film and television. And so I wanted to go to the place to learn that technique, to
Yeah.
have that
And do you,
experience.
and do you think, no, Adrian, just an idea. Do you think if you were to set up like a workshop, do you think that
Yeah,
would help the community more?
yeah,
Because I have no clue what's going on in your home country, but I think it got a bad press from Trump, I think, you know. Um, but I think if you were to add something to the community, because for kids, teenagers, young men, um, are afraid to express themselves these days, you know. And I think
mm-hmm.
acting would be a good healing tool for
Oh
them.
yeah,
And I find a lot of open people, if they're not creating, they're dying. Like
mm,
particularly open trade people, they have to create instead of doing the 9 to 5. They have to do something more creative with their lives
yeah,
because generally then people end up on antidepressants, suicidal, frustrated, and don't see past the age of 27 or even 44.
yeah.
So I think it would be a good idea. I'm just throwing out ideas, buddy.
No, thank you.
Just to help the community more. You get young men, get young women in acting.
So yeah, totally. So there's actually there's uh, a colleague, very special guy who his name is Antonio Morales, and he used to. I'm not sure if he's doing it right now because he just got appointed as the director for the Department of Culture and Art and Culture
Hmm.
for the capital city here, San Juan. And he had this really beautiful program where he was teaching theater to youth from the public housing projects here. And
Right.
so they had a really beautiful program where they had them set up into a few groups, a couple groups based on ages, but it was a bunch of kids, and they would come and act and practice, learn, and then they would end up producing a piece and doing a show. And it was a
Wow.
really beautiful. And he invited me at one point to share with him and to do a workshop, which I really enjoy doing those. I enjoy just sharing what I love with people
Hmm.
and what I enjoy, right? Um, so I did, yeah, we did a workshop, and we did a little guided meditation and went into an imagination kind of like exercise to create this whole world. And
Hmm.
then they realized they were an animal, and when they woke up, they were this animal and walking around the room like this animal and making those sounds and interacting with the other animals and figuring out what they were, but
Yeah.
no words.
Hmm.
Um, so it was fun, you know. I like playing. I like that, exploring that freedom and that side of ourselves, and inviting people to do that, you know,
Hmm.
and to have that setting for that. So yeah, so the way in which I work with sound healing, sometimes I include elements of that. We do like this exercise where we introduce ourselves in a circle, and it's really fun. It gets people laughing a lot and like opening up and being silly and just putting themselves out of their own comfort zone
Hmm.
in front of other people. So it's already like, that's already kind of like a breakthrough and therapeutic in and of itself. And then we go into the sound healing. But yeah, I want to do more of the workshops. I did a workshop here a year and a half ago where it was, we did, I mixed a variety of healing modalities. So we did breath work, we meditated, we did some kriyas from Kundalini Yoga for creativity and for present awareness and confidence. And then we
Yeah.
also had sound healing. but then we also sang together. Like there were like games, you know, like improv games, improvising sketch comedy scenes, singing, improvising, and it was just really fun and also very freeing. And it was just such a mix of things that people really enjoyed. People really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to doing more of those. But I really appreciate the sort of challenge and invitation to start something with like teaching acting per se, but do it my way, still adding some of the elements of healing that I feel only help and improve deepen the work with acting. And yeah, and offer workshops like that more consistently. So gracias.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to touch on something as well. Like how okay, like anyone that's going for a job, acting job, even a 9 to 5 job, how did you come over your fear of rejection, we say, for an audition?
Okay, so that's a work in progress, you know.
Right. Okay.
I feel like, you know, the audition process can be very nerve-wracking, right? And sometimes, for me, it was interesting because I didn't get to the point where I just was super consistently crushing it in auditions. You know, it was hit and miss for me, and the way that the roles, the biggest opportunities that I've had have been like they've reached out to me and directly with an offer like, oh, this, you know, the first one, the 30 Days with My Brother you mentioned was, oh, I wrote this and I wrote it with you in mind. Would you want to read it? And I'm like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then the other one came about through somebody that I met from Spain, who's a very loved, very talented actress, beautiful person, in Spain. And she received a script. She read a character who was originally Brazilian, and his name was Joao. And then she said, "Oh, they're gonna reach out to you with an audition." And I said, "Like an audition from Spain?" She says, "Yes." Super surprised and really excited, of course. And she said, and the character, the script says that he's Brazilian, but he's not. I already told them that he's Latino and that he's you. and so to like pay tribute to my family and like my heritage, like for my parents, I made him Cuban and gave him a Cuban accent. I love doing accents. It's like another way into the character that just brings other things out. It's really fun for me.
Of course, yeah.
So I gave him a Cuban accent, and then we changed the name, and yeah, the audition process is really, you know, it's an interesting, because it's very like inorganic to the process of what storytelling and acting is, right? It's happening in a setting, you know, where you know you're being evaluated, and so it's very much a mindset thing. It's allowing yourself to just be really present and simply be listening to the person that's in front of you, and like allowing yourself to breathe.
Yeah.
Because it's such the circumstances of it, that you go into it with the awareness of like, okay, I'm going in, I'm being judged and evaluated, but I'm going to share this that's coming from this other place, and just really being able to get out of your own way and ignore that and just focus on the work. So that takes some work and practice.
That takes
cojones, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, acting that's a big part of what it is being able to show up and just be present and listen and react.
Yeah.
Right?
Because there's method to my madness, Adrian, because I see that a lot, like professionally and personally. A lot of people have this persona of trying to be too kind, you know, and they're not being authentic.
Yeah.
So they're afraid of the fear of rejection, so they keep their mouth shut,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So, but it's a projection of that fear of rejection. No, what you're doing is you're actually, the minute you think that, you're actually rejecting the true character within yourself, and you're just pointing the finger. Maybe they won't like me. Maybe they won't accept me, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So you create 10,000 reasons not to be authentic,
Mm.
and stick onto that old label. I'm afraid I'll be rejected. But you know what you just done? You rejected the truth within yourself, there, buddy, straight away, because you have nothing to lose at all. And if they reject you, see it as being redirected to some other thing
Yeah.
in your life, because that fear of rejection is preventing so many potentially successful artists, actors, business people, um, friendships,
Mm.
from being actually real, because of the fear of being rejected. Rejected from what? Somebody's ego? Your own ego? What are you rejecting?
Yeah. So
You know what I
thank you.
mean? Like,
No, I
yeah.
completely resonate. What you're saying actually completely resonates because even with the awareness of this is how the human brain works and this is what
Mm-hmm.
happens in these cases, right? And how our consciousness responds in these circumstances. I've experienced some of that myself in life
Mm-hmm.
very recently. I've still felt myself falling into that pattern and being perplexed by it in a sense of like, wait a minute, why am I experiencing this again? Like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a journey. There's a book that I'm gonna order. I have it in my cart. Somebody was telling me the wisdom of insecurity. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's something that plagues artists in general and
Oh, big time,
people
yeah.
people, but artists that work with a lot artists because you're always working with expressing yourself and it feels always very vulnerable in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I feel like that insecurity is something that teaches us a lot of things, but it's a bitch to
Yeah.
figure out sometimes. It
E-
takes work. It takes a conscious, intentional work sometimes to allow ourselves to simply be.
mm-hmm. You know, I'll tell you a true story. I was listening to an interview. Even Bono has experienced that, because before they had it, made it big time, he had written a song, and he said it was shit. So he thrown it in the bin. And his best friend came in, like, what you do there? What's that song? Give me a look at it. And he opened it up, read through it. He said, man, this is a great song. You should record this. What are you doing? This be a #1 hit. Guess which song it was?
Which one?
With or Without You. And he thanked his best friend for not for pushing him to record that song. So even
Yeah.
Bono has moments of that.
Thank you for sharing that because
You know.
so here, like a vulnerable share for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going through such rapid change. I've been going through such accelerated change that I never get comfortable with where I am because by the time I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting this now. I'm doing it. All of a sudden, it's like shifted to something else, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I
Mm-hmm.
can't get the hang of it, and so life continues to ask me to like share whatever's coming through. Then and there, like with sound healing, I felt like, what am I doing? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the things that I've been feeling called to do and inspired to express, I've held myself back a lot. And I created a lot of stories to hold me back from actually doing it. It's my process and it's what's brought me to and integrate and like access a lot of the wisdom that I carry, right? And it allows
Mm-hmm.
me it's allowed me to learn so much more about myself that I can then put in service to others too. But that part of dealing with the insecurity and the holding back sometimes, that can be a really tough one. And for me, when I was younger, I was always very outspoken.
Lots of different.
So
You were very outspoken.
yeah, yeah, I was really outspoken. I never held back. I was like, made my point, and I would like, debate and stuff like that. And then when I was more aware that I was on this journey of like, spiritual exploration and all this like personal development and transformation, I realized that I knew nothing, and that things that I held as like a belief for a moment, all of a sudden like shifted again, and quite rapidly. And so at some point, I was like, all right, I'm just observing and I'm receiving and I'm seeing what feels and like how I feel about what and what resonates. And I've held them as my own, as my truths. And I guess I held on to that mechanism, that mechanism of like trying to be safe, by not sharing as much when I would actually find something that would resonate with me.
Get that shit out the door, man.
So
safety is an illusion. Safety is an illusion. Everyone's looking for
Yeah.
that safety, comfort, the whole lot. What you need to shift to here, Adrian, is absolute inner security.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're holding yourself back there too much, and you're robbing yourself in denial of your own gift, and you're robbing the world of your own gift. Right? It's clearly not serving you. So as Picasso says, once you've found your gift, share it, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And plus, it's not really your gift to hold on to.
Exactly.
So there's great wisdom in what Picasso said there.
Yeah.
I see that all the time with people.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Here's a thing I read. Look for the gift in the other person, or be that gift for the other person. But if you can't be that gift, walk away. Or if they don't see the value of that gift, walk away.
I love that.
It's just basically, fuck it, Because a gift is only real when it's shared, and appreciated and loved and honored and all that,
Yeah.
So stop the safety game, man.
Oh, it's done.
It's not worth it.
It's done. That's why we're here right now.
Yeah, big time. Now, I'm fascinated by the painting behind you. We could talk all night here, Adrian. I love this conversation. Yeah.
So here, I'll switch it now to, or how does it work now? See, there you go. What do you see there?
Let me get it. I'm looking at I'm going to flip up my camera here now first.
Okay.
So if you just come back a little bit. Yeah, that to me now, that's union of male and female. The anima and animus.
In a sense, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, and uprooting the earth, the limitations that stops the seed from flowering. And there's a bit of a thorn around, a crown of thorns around the dude on the right. So it's a symbol of the wounded healer, carrying the thorns. But if I can look to the left there, she's carrying that wound as well. So they're both wounded, but joined at the hip with this wound, and they're kind of an embattlement of it, but they're trying to transcend it as well at the same time.
Yeah. Bello. So the painting is called The Passion of Christ. And so it has
Aha! Okay.
the eye, the nails, the thorn crown, the mouth, and but it actually makes a lot of sense with what you're saying, and really resonates, because that's what Christ was, that divine union between masculine and female energy embodied. And and he spoke about like the wounds and the wounded healer, you know, that the wound gets healed, but that's always a part of the person. It's actually what opens way for that healing to be able to be shared and expanded. So yeah.
It's a fascinating painting. Who painted it?
You know what? The story was, we were on vacation in Dominican Republic, and my mom found it rolled up in a shack on the beach with a bunch of paintings. And she unrolled one that was like tossed to the side, and it was that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, right?
It's an amazing piece of work. Amazing piece of work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Really beautiful. So, you know, I'm having an issue right now, and it's that my phone is about to die.
Yeah. Okay, Adrian.
Wait, because I
really enjoyed this talk.
Wait, what was that?
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Brother, me too. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm getting a plug. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you so much for the conversation, the going in and the shifting, and the encouragement. I appreciate you very much.
You too, man. You too, brother.
That was really fun. Gracias.
Yeah. Okay, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, love you, brother. Thank you so much.
Love you too. You're welcome. Bye. Ciao. Bye.
Ciao.